We're going to leave the lights up. We're going to go for our fourth and final workshop of the morning. Hopefully some people have gone in their goodie bags, they found their Burt's Crisps, they're having their cups of tea, we're all relatively settled. What I'd like to say is previously we had Ali stepped in, lastminute.com. Tim Cameron Kitchen couldn't make it and Ali stepped in and did the do. Well, Chris is actually going one better. He's got a bit of an eye infection at the moment and he's technically blind. So he's giving us an introduction to smartphone filming. So we actually have the blind leading the blind. No? I'm trying. I'll find my level. So no, it's not even worth a ripple. Genuinely, it's not. It's genuinely not. But what we are going to say is, look, I've lifted the lights up. I want to lift the energy. It's our final workshop of the morning. Are both of the guys having a chat? We're both having a chat?
No, just Chris. I'm literally a dummy.
Oh, you're a dummy, right? Okay. So guys, let's all put it together. Chris Quevatre, is that correct? Is that
close enough?
Close enough, and we've got the levels on the microphone. Chris Quevatre, for your entertainment. How to use a smartphone? Let's go.
I normally do this training in a classroom with about 8 people, so and over the course of about 8 hours as well. So doing it in 45 minutes with lots of people. I'm quite glad I can't see all the way to the back. There's a lot of people in here. So yeah, today we're going to do an introduction to smartphone filming. Can I have a little? This is always a disaster at the start to do a poll because no one wants to put their hand up. Can you put your hand up if you do filming as part of your job on your phone? And hands up if you want to be able to, but there's some sort of barrier. Would anyone like to say what the difficult thing for filming on your smartphone and trying to get content out is? What sort of barriers do you face? Yeah?
I work in the deal and the light levels.
The light levels, yeah, nightmare. Yeah, that sounds... I can't immediately think of a solution, so I'm going to give you one later once I've thought of one. And anyone else?
I'm scared.
You're scared? What are you scared of?
Producing rubbish content.
Producing rubbish content, yeah. I'm scared of that every time I go out filming still. Yeah, anyone else? Yeah. Sound quality, yeah, so that's something we're going to talk about a little bit today as well. There's some solutions, some of them really expensive, some of them less so, some of them free. So yeah, that's something we'll talk about today. Anyone else? Yeah?
A nice background.
Nice background, yeah, not always possible. So many people will book us for filming and then they say, this is the meeting room you're in today. And that always makes it, another meeting room. We'll do what we can. But yeah, anyone else?
Getting people involved. They walk away when they see you coming.
Getting people involved, yeah. Well, that's one of the advantages actually of smartphone filming, because when I'm filming on a smartphone, I find I can walk up to people and it's not too intimidating. If you come up with a giant camera rig for TV or something, no one will go anywhere near you. But yeah, that's definitely a problem, trying to convince people to get involved.
Editing platforms, so many different ones to choose from.
Yeah, editing platforms. So that can be a real struggle. You gather all this content and then moving it from your phone to a laptop can be a nightmare. So today we're gonna be using pretty much. I'm going to be on my iPhone. We're going to be using iMovie editor on my phone that we're going to be editing later together. So we're going to be putting together a little film of the day today at Building Brands. Some of you in here are probably harassed by me this morning. I see one there, trying to get interviews and things to clip together. Yeah, we're going to be doing a bit of editing on iMovie on our phones today. There are lots of other apps that you can use as well. Filmer, Flickr, Canva, others that I'm sure people have used before. They're all pretty much the same, but we'll be using iMovie today to edit as well. So hopefully we can overcome some of the barriers. I'll leave some questions at the end. I'll leave some time for questions at the end as well. But we do have a fair amount to get through. You're escaping already. That's not fair. So we're going to start today. What we're going to do today, we're going to film some interviews. We are going to film some B-roll, and we're going to edit a film. Now, normally, I would be roaming around the room filming B-roll, and you'd be able to see what I can see on the screen from my phone. That system isn't working today, so we will skip past that a little bit, but we're going to film some interviews, and we're going to film some B-roll, and we're going to put it all together in a final package as well. So the kit we're going to be using today, you don't need anything other than your phone, normally. Your phone is all you need. You've all got a good camera app on your phone. There are other options for different apps that you can film on. There's something called Filmic Pro, which costs, I think it's about 15 quid or something, and you can have ultimate control over your camera and things. And it is very useful if you want to change things really specifically, like focus and your exposure and things like that. Generally, the camera app on your phone is pretty sufficient. Does anyone have any problems with the camera app on their phone, setting it up or anything like that? Has anyone ever come across any issues? No, pretty good. So what some people don't know is on your phone you can change the frame rate that you're filming in, which can be really useful. We're going to look at that a little bit later in your settings to be able to do slow-mo and things like that. But generally, your phone is all you need. I've just upgraded, which makes me look really fancy. But for a long time, I was using a 5-year-old phone that had a screen cracked in the second week. My colleague Tom sent me out when we were working at the BBC to film an auction in Hatherley, which I think is somewhere in Dartmoor. And I was filming an auction. It was the fastest auctioneer alive. This is the sort of stuff that gets on the BBC. And I was filming him from on high. My phone tumbled out and hit a cow and cracked my screen. I thought to myself, now I'm going to have to get that screen replaced. And I didn't for 5 years, until 2 weeks ago. And now I've got my fancy new phone. I'm very happy with it. So that's what I'm going to be using today. Any phone is fine. Some phones have different limitations. So pretty much every phone will be able to film in HD for 30 frames per second. The more sort of expensive and fancier phones you get, you might be able to film in 4K. You might be able to film in higher frame rates and things like that. But with whatever phone you've got, you can always do something. We're also going to be using a tripod today to talk them through. This is a really simple one that we bought recently. It's from a company called Small Rig, which are quite common in photography, videography. It's about 40 quid, and it's just a really simple way. If you're like me, the shakiest camera operator in the world, it's a really useful way to really simply make your shot steady. I've got it here in my rucksack today. You don't have to have loads of stuff with you all the time. So it came in my rucksack and it goes up pretty high. So we're going to be using this today for a couple of interviews that we're going to be doing during the session. So yeah, a nice cheap option. And you want to be able to get it up to eye level. If you're doing lots of sit-down interviews, you don't need to get up very high, but we'll probably do stood up today. So that's our tripod. Relatively straight. We need to tighten up a few things there. And then we just need a little adapter for the top. This is Amazon Basics and was, I think, £4 we bought this for. So nice and cheap. And it's got the little adapter on the bottom as well, so we can just pop it in there as well. So that's most of the kit we're going to be using today. Now, we were talking about sound before. Someone was saying they had problems with sound when they're filming. Sound can be a real problem. There's all sorts of different sounds that can be a problem. If you're in a room like this with lots of hard surfaces, or a meeting room with lots of hard surfaces, or anything like that, that can be really tricky for echo. That's something that you really want to avoid, things like meeting rooms. So anything with lots of soft furnishings in is always your best bet to get better sound. If you don't have any microphones, you want to get as close to someone as possible in order to get the most, the most pure sound you can. What we're going to use today is some little microphone boxes. These are sort of towards the higher end of the scale, but you can pick some up for about between 60 and 80 quid for some of the cheaper ones. So they come in two parts. You've got your little box that's the receiver that you plug into your phone, and you've got the transmitter that you put on your contributor, on your guest. So these are what we're going to use today, just to do a couple of little interviews in the room. There's a little cable that goes into our receiver, and we just plug it into our phone, into the bottom. And I've been going around, you might have seen me this morning, walking around building brands, getting lots of quick interviews with people, and it's just hanging off my phone, and that's fine. It's feeding in. As soon as I go into the camera app on my phone, it's taking in the sound and adding it onto the clip. So you don't need to do anything at all. The only sound on this phone will be whatever's coming through this box here. And this is, you can just clip it onto someone. So today, I've normally got a little cable with a mic, and well, much like this one, that I'd sort of thread up through someone's t-shirt. But this one today, not a lot of time. We're interviewing lots of people in quick succession. I don't want to start threading cables in, so this has just been sort of clipped on people's lanyards very quickly. And what that means is this microphone takes in sound from a very small area. So I'm not getting the people having a conversation on the other side of the forum. I'm not getting the guys next to us talking about something else. I'm only getting the person that's right here that's talking to me, which can be really useful to have. There are different brands. These ones are Rode, R-O-D-E, so they're a little bit more expensive brand. But you can get some from a company called Synco. There's S-Y-N-C-O. That can be that are really good still very usable. I'll just turn those off. So yeah, that's all we're going to use today, but you can absolutely make a really good film with just using your phone. So, how to film interviews. We're going to do this, we're going to do some examples in a second, but three sort of, the top one now as I read it sounds really patronising, I didn't mean it to be, but aim it at a person. You'd be amazed how many sort of shots we get back from people that aren't aimed at a person. But yeah, aiming at a person, keeping their eyes 2/3 of the way up the screen. And most phones, if you delve into your settings, you'll be able to find something called the grid that you can add to your phone. And you'll have 2 lines splitting the screen down and 2 lines going across. It splits the screen into 9 equal segments. We want to keep eyes 2/3 of the way up the screen. I'm going to show you some examples of that afterwards. And keep space behind them. We were talking about nice backgrounds before. We want as much space behind our person as we can. There's nothing worse than a video of someone like up against a white wall looking like they've got nowhere to go, probably because they've been cornered by the comms person that's forcing them to be in a film. You want lots of space behind them. If you're using bigger cameras, you might have a DSLR in the team or something, that space behind is going to mean you get those really nice blurry backgrounds behind. On a phone, you're less likely to get that, unless you've got an iPhone 13 or afterwards, you might have cinematic mode that does that automatically and makes those nice blurry backgrounds as well. So yeah, we want to keep space behind people as much as possible. Sometimes that helps tell the story. I did a quick interview with Dave, who runs Building Brands, earlier, and so it made sense to have lots of space behind him because you could see people going to the stalls and exactly what Building Brands is about. But for other people, it just makes the shot feel a bit bigger and less claustrophobic. The 2/3 rule it doesn't matter how far away you are from the person that you are filming. The traditional rule is that their eyes are 2/3 of the way up the screen. I'd love to tell you why that is. I don't really know. It's what I got told when I joined the BBC, and it's worked for me ever since. So, yeah, eyes 2/3 of the way up the screen. Now, in this scenario, I was about to say, as you can tell, they're looking at the camera. You can't tell, but they are, in this scenario, looking at the camera. So, yeah, it doesn't matter where going across the screen they are, really, if they're looking at the camera. But eyes 2/3 of the way up, whether you're really close or really far away, is the general rule. There are times in dramas where you'll see things done a little different, in a different way. The eyes might be further down if you're trying to convey an emotion, if you're trying to make someone look small or insignificant or victimised in some way. They might be further up and looking up at them if you want to make them look big and powerful and things like that. Generally, in the sort of content that you're making in the marketing world, those aren't necessarily emotions that you want to convey. So if you want to keep things neutral and corporate in a way, then this is the sort of bog standard way to go for broadcasting, especially in news. This is what we use because you don't want to convey bias in any way. Even with your camera angle, someone's going to notice it and accuse you of bias. Now, in this example, this isn't Superman or anyone. This is just the line of vision. This is where they're looking. So if you've got someone looking to the side of camera, you want to put them on a specific side of the shot. So they always look across the empty space. So generally for the films we make at Ocean City Media, we generally have people looking into the lens pretty much all the time because it's a more direct feeling. You feel like someone's appealing to you directly rather than to a middleman. But there are times, especially if someone doesn't feel comfortable talking to the lens, or they just react better speaking with a producer to the side of the camera, where we will have someone looking across the camera rather than straight into the lens. So if they're looking across to the left, you position them on the right with an eye either side of the 2/3 line, in theory. You don't have to stick to that all the time, but generally, if they're looking left, you want them on the right, and predictably, if they're on the left, you want them looking right. Yeah, so that's the sort of basic rules of filming interviews, having eyes 2/3 of the way up, and then if they're in the middle, you don't need to worry too much. So if they're looking straight into the lens, you don't need to worry too much about where they are. You can have them on the left, on the right. It doesn't make too much difference. So we're going to have a look at some examples now. Eyes 2/3 of the way up. The background looks really sort of out of focus and blurry because we've got space behind her, and some funky lighting as well. So this is for a video for the NHS. And the same again, this is filmed in Ocean Studios at Royal William Yards, eyes 2/3 of the way up. You'll have to, I can't remember his name, but I've not taken a very flattering screenshot of this guy. He's sort of looks half asleep during this interview, but was a very good interviewee. Again, eyes 2/3 of the way up, and all the way through. So nice blurry backgrounds. This is not ideal. So this one's filmed in we're doing films for the NHS. You find yourself filming in GP offices all the time. So small amount of space and a very sort of clustered environment to film. So, lots of things you've got to think about. Because our lens blurs backgrounds, a phone won't. So if you've got private or confidential material on those screens behind, you might have medical information there. So some things you've got to think about your backgrounds. They're not always creative decisions. Sometimes you've got to think about what's on screen. And some more examples. This one filmed at the University of Exeter in their engineering labs. So again, eyes 2/3 of the way up. I'm noticing now, all mine are a little bit high, but there we go. So lots of examples there. That one's at Plymouth Argyle. Now, this chap was very happy that we came to film for him. So this was for a European-funded programme called Seacare, and he was very pleased to show off his B&B in Plymouth that had been received some funding from the EU. And he'd set the table out so nicely that we decided to break some of the rules. So for his side shot, we actually filmed him on the left, looking left. It's a stylised option. I think in this case it looks quite nice. It's not traditional. It's one of those things where once you know what the rules are, you can sort of decide when to break them. And because it was our second shot, so we also had that safety shot of him looking straight into the lens. Because I think this would look a bit weird if this was the only time you saw him. But just for a side shot, to give some context, it worked quite nicely. And then another one here at the University of Exeter with the labs behind. So sometimes you can break the rules, but I think stick to them first and then realise when is the best opportunity to break them. So, with that, we're going to film some interviews right now. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to set up my phone on the tripod. We've got our mic switched on and filling the phone. Now, we're not going to be able to see these on the screen, but I'm just going to go around and pick some people out and we're going to get some very quick interviews. Please do tell me if you really, really don't want to. That's not a problem at all. So I'll start with someone who... I'm going to start with someone who can't say no, my colleague Tom. So if you could come over here for me, please. No. Yeah. So we're going to start here. I'm going to get this nice and straight. So you're not going to be able to see what I'm doing, unfortunately, as normal, but I'm going to film Tom with lots of people behind him. And I'm going to ask him to talk about certain things. So instead of asking, are you having a nice time today? What time did you get here? I'm just going to ask him to talk more vaguely about, once I put a microphone on you, I'm going to ask him to talk about what's going on today, why we're here, what's going on, and hopefully he'll be very complimentary about building brands. That's my briefing for you. So Tom, could you tell us a little bit about why you're here today and what's going on?
We're here today to meet as many other businesses as we can, hear some really, really informative talks, but yeah, most importantly, catch up with people we work with and make the most of this fantastic environment.
And could you give me, could you give me 3 words to describe building brands, please?
No.
Please?
Collaborative, positive, creative.
Perfect, lovely. Cool, right, that's you done. Can I have my microphone back, please? Lovely. So we've been filming some stuff this morning, and these are just little clips that we're going to put into the end of a film that we're going to edit together shortly. Who can I pick on? I'm going to pick on people I know. So this is Anna from Blue Square. Hello. Yeah, you can stand up for me if I just pin that on your lapel. And what we're going to do to help us... you're a bit shorter than Tom. A tiny bit. So to help us cut this together, we're going to ask really similar questions. And so just doing something like, can you give me a few words to do something, can really help you edit it together to something that makes sense. Don't worry about your hair, you look great. You look great. So Anna, can you tell me what it's like being here at Building Brands today?
It's amazing as always. It's my fourth one, so I really look forward to coming today. And I've been looking forward to since morning, so yeah, all good.
Perfect. And 3 words to describe Building Brands?
Well, marketing, live, and yeah, just lovely.
That was nice. That was nice. I bet people are feeling the pressure now to come up with new words. Thank you very much. Anyone else feeling confident as I go up the stairs? No one? It's not that scary. Anyone? Hands up? Hey, there we go. Bit of peer pressure. You can stay sat down. You can stay sat down. That's fine, yeah. Just pop that mic on for me. Little tip, don't use a tripod that you haven't used before on the first time when you're presenting. Perfect. Just talking to the lens then, could you introduce who you are and where you're coming from?
I'm Georgia Cummings. I'm an essentialist.
Perfect. And can you tell me what it's like being here at Building Brands today?
It's a really exciting, innovative atmosphere, and there's a lot of talk about tech.
Perfect. And 3 words to describe Building Brands?
Community, networking, and exciting.
Perfect. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Can I take the microphone back? Wasn't so bad at all. No, absolutely not. Right, let's go for one more person, just to make the editing easier. Any hands up? Don't mind where they are. Yes. Fantastic. So eventually, if I ask enough, people will just feel sorry for me. Yeah, if you could stand up, actually, that would be great. Thank you. Lovely. There's your microphone. If you just pin that onto your lanyard. There we go. Handheld for this one. And could you introduce yourself to the camera?
You're going to be a shaky camera, aren't you?
No, it's pretty steady. It's pretty steady. Yeah.
I'm Becky Bryan from the Amber Foundation.
Fantastic. And can you tell me what it's like being at Building Brands here today?
This is my first Building Brands. I was given a ticket by Rebecca Riddler from Your Digital Future, and I'm so pleased I've come. It's like so wonderfully energetic and lovely and friendly, and like other people were saying, just a wonderful networking and learning experience.
Would you come again in the future?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I'll take that mic back off you. Brilliant. Thank you very much. So we've got a few answers there. That last question was dreadful because the one-word answer, absolutely, that I sort of asked for, I'm not going to be able to edit that into anything at all. And that wasn't intentional. I just wasn't thinking. So there we go. So we've got our material now. And we're going to put together a little bit of an edit in a second. The one thing we need to get, though, is some B-roll. So does anyone know what B-roll is? Yeah?
Oh, it's like behind the scenes, like shoot.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So what you end up with when you're editing is we're going to see an edit timeline in a second. Anyone who hasn't seen an edit timeline before, it's a sort of a view of your project, and you've got lots of little clips that look like short or long rectangles, and you're just dragging them and dropping them all the time. So it's a really visual process. But what you end up with is lots of interviews, lots of people talking where you want to use the sound, and you generally put those on one line. And then what you want to do is create B-roll to help tell the story. So it's shots of things that aren't people talking directly to camera. And it has a few different, it has two different functions. The first one is it covers the edits. Because the film we're going to make today is going to be about 40 seconds, and we've already got about 4 minutes of content. So we definitely can't use everything. We're going to have to chop people up. But we don't want jump cuts where people suddenly go from here to there to there. It's going to look awful. So we need to use B-roll to try and cover those joins. But we also want it to help tell the story. So I've been getting lots of B-roll from out in the forum today. But when I was there, it wasn't overly busy because it was quite early. So we want to get a little bit of extra B-roll in here today. So what I'm going to do is, because I'm going to film it, I can't be down here at the same time. So Tom, could you be a stunt Chris for me? Yeah. Fantastic. No one will know the difference. So what I'm going to do now, and I appreciate normally you'll be able to see this on the screen. You're not going to be able to see this today until we edit. So I'm going to get some sort of shots of people watching Tom, chatting away, and we're going to... we're not going to use the sound, Tom, so if you want, you can just sort of wildly gesture your arms as if you're talking. That would be great. So I'm back into video mode, and I'm just getting shots of people watching. So if Tom was wearing his branded clothing like he told me to today, he'd be wearing a black T-shirt, and it would be more believable that we're the same.
When you work in communication, you're not expected to communicate with each other. Absolutely fine.
If people keep their eyes on Tom and look absolutely enthralled at what's going on.
Absolutely. Of course they should.
Fantastic. So we've got some shots. I'm getting.
I don't know why I'm moving around as if you're filming me at the moment.
Yeah, I'm not. I've got my back to you.
No,
so we're getting shots of the same people from different angles, so we can cut it together. Sometimes the purpose of B-roll film seems like to make it look like you've got about 50 cameras in the same room when actually you've only got one.
And we want to get this point while I'm here.
We want to get different sized shots as well. So we want to get some shots where you can see loads, some shots where you can, almost just see people's eyes. Not maybe quite that close, but you want to just get people's reactions. And then some shots you want to get a bit more context. So I'm going to get a high shot from the back as well.
Well, if I'm going to be Chris, I'm going to need to do that. But there we go. Yeah, no, I was just while I'm here and Chris is running around getting his B-roll, there won't be anything in his presentation about the fact that, because he just does the creative stuff, we're very happy to come to you as well and run this as a training course. When we would do it, everything Chris would be doing now would actually be live on the screens anyway, so the interviews that he would be doing, everyone would get to see and laugh at their colleagues. The B-roll filming would also be up there, obviously due to a couple of little technical headaches, that's not going to be possible, but he is going to be able to do the edit live when we do it. But yeah, if you're interested, we can, normally we do it, as he said at the start, for up to about 10 to 12 people is normally good, because then everybody gets to go to film something, make something, it to go wrong, to say to Chris it's all gone wrong, and then he can correct it or whatever. So it doesn't tend to be in an auditorium of this size, but maybe if we start charging per head, it should be in an auditorium of this size. Yeah, so if anybody's interested at all, come and have a chat with me afterwards. I'll be looking very smart.
It's a bit big for you, that, isn't it?
No, come on.
It's really exposed how short you are. Oh, I don't know why I'm asking for that. I don't need that. So we've got our shots, we've got our interviews. I've got a lead-in film that I filmed earlier today with some of you in as well. So now I'm going to be sort of slightly hunched over here while editing this because I need to be my phone to be plugged into this screen. So I think I'm probably going to have to kneel on the floor actually. But if everyone looks at oh, it's on there, but not on here. There we go, lovely. So I'm going across to iMovie. I'm not normally so corporate that my background is our company logo, but my girlfriend's become slightly annoyed with the fact that she pops up on every single bit of training that we do. We're on iMovie here. So if you've got an iPhone, you've got iMovie. It comes with it. You might have deleted it when you were running out of space on your phone potentially. That's totally feasible, but you can download it again for free, and it's a really powerful bit of software, and is really good. It feels weird kneeling on the floor. So yeah, iMovie is a great option. Like I said, there's also loads of other options. So there's Filmer, there's Flickr, there's InVideo. There are. Can anyone name any others? Splice. There's one beginning with C that I've forgotten. CapCut, that's the one, CapCut. CapCut's brilliant, actually. CapCut's really good as well. Yes, there's lots of options there. I would say some of them you have to pay for special features. Definitely try it out before you do that. See if you like it. iMovie comes free and is really good. So it's the one that we use when we're doing this. So I've cheated slightly in that I've already started one. So once you start a movie, you're going to get something like this. Except you're not going to have any content in it. So at the bottom half, where you can see the green line, that is the track that I've chosen for today. And this bit of content here that's highlighted in yellow, this is our timeline here. So our timeline goes across here, and we can manipulate that piece of video in lots of different ways. And then at the top is our preview. So we're seeing a preview of what the video is going to look like. Across the bottom, we've got lots of different options. So if you think of this as the sub-menu here, where it says split, detach, duplicate, delete, that's the sub-menu. And over here, we've got our sort of our normal menu. So at the moment, we're on the scissors. That's what you're going to spend most of your time on the scissors. For people who use CapCut and InVideo, the menus are really similar. Like, it's the same setup. You've got your main menu and then your sub-menus that come off. And for these, they work pretty much as you'd expect. So split will cut our piece of video wherever the white line is. So if I move across and I can split once I've selected the track, and it splits that video into two pieces. That allows me to trim it if I want to cut off the first part and then highlight it and press delete. And I might be that I want to get to the start of a piece of interview, or the start of where a piece of B-roll gets good and lose the first part. Normally when you're filming, you press the button and then you sort of get into position, so you might want to cut off that first part. So that's split. Detach will take the sound off if you don't want the sound from that particular part. Duplicate, duplicates, and delete, deletes. But what I want to do is actually undo this split, because this piece of video is already done. This is the intro to our film. So I want to press that little arrow up there, which is the undo button, just on the middle on the right. So I'm going to press undo and get our piece of video all back to one go. Once I highlight it, I get all the menus again. So this is where we are at the moment. The green bit underneath is the track. If I press play, is the sound going to come through my phone or the speakers? Neither. Didn't see that coming. Oh. So this is what we filmed so far today. So we'll get onto that in a second. But what we're going to do first is we're going to edit an interview. So thankfully, Dave Briggs, who sets up Building Brands, was kind enough to give me an interview opportunity earlier today. So, don't know. Maybe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new piece of content to this video. So I'm going to press the big plus at the top left and go to video and recently added. And this is all the B-roll that I've just filmed around here, so you might see some of your faces or the back of your head in here. But the one I want is this one here. That is Dave looking out over the conference earlier. So now we've got a really big long interview here, but we don't want to use it all, because up until we had Dave, we were at not a lot of time at all, maybe 16 seconds, 17 seconds. So what we want to do is we want to cut him down. So we're going to have a listen to what he says and pick out one clip, really, because we're making maybe a 45-second video, so we don't want too much of him. Sorry if you're in the room, Dave. Maybe not. Let's mute that track while we're here.
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Of course you can.
I can't see. Are you using your phone to do the editing?
I'm using my phone, yeah. My phone's on the desk.
On a bigger screen or anything?
Sorry?
You haven't transferred it to...
No, this is just my phone tilted sideways, so it comes up landscape. But normally when editing, I do edit in portrait. Oh my word, I wasn't expecting it to come out like that. But normally I would edit in portrait, but it just makes more sense this way because it fills the screen. So let's have a little listen to what Dave's saying, if we can hear it. Hopefully we can.
It's going to be part of a community.
Cool. So can you introduce yourself? What you're looking into the lens. Can you introduce yourself? Tell me who you are, where we are.
Yeah. Dave Briggs, founder of Building Brands, and we're in the University of Exeter.
Perfect. And starting with the word building brands, can you tell me what building brands is?
Sure. Building brand.
So this is the tricky part, especially if you've got like short, chubby fingers like me, is getting the right bit to start on. So what we want to do is get his first answer. I'm going to highlight there. I think it's about there, which is when he starts talking. It's gone full screen again. Why has it done that? There we go. So I've highlighted the bit where I think he starts talking. I'm sort of looking at his mouth here. I'm trying to decipher when he says sure and when he says building brands.
Yeah, Dave Briggs, founder of Building Brands, and we're in the University of Exeter.
Perfect. And starting with the word building brands, can you tell me what building brands is?
Sure.
So we're going to just go back a couple of frames. I've selected, we've got a yellow box around a rectangle, so I'm going to hit split down here now. I'm going to hit split, and I'm going to hit select the first part of this, and we don't want that anymore. That's just me briefing him. That's me telling him to look into the lens and to start his answer with the words building brands. So I'm now going to delete that, and hopefully it follows on nicely.
It's going to be part of a community. Building Brands is a community of marketing professionals and some students, mostly based around Devon and Cornwall, but we're looking to grow it now into Somerset and Dorset, and maybe up into Bristol as well.
Cool, so we're going to split that there. That's the end of his first answer. Now we're going to find his second answer.
The people here, what do they get out of it?
Community, that's the biggest thing. People that they can talk to, people they can go to for help. It's about promoting the talent that we've got in the area.
It was a bad question. What do they get out of it? So there's no context in the answer. I really don't want to put my own question in because I'm not on screen. Who's this random guy in the background? So we're going to cut this answer out.
And about helping people to upskill and do their jobs better.
And for you, on a personal note, how does it feel to be able to put all this together and bring so many people together?
It's enormously flattering that people want to come and that we sell things. We sell the events out. This is our 4th event, and that all of them have sold out.
So we're going to go to, it's another bad question actually, so we're going to go from this is our 4th event.
So this is our 4th event, and
let's aim for there, we'll see if that's it. So I'm going to split it again. I'm going to take the first half of that and I'm going to hit delete. So now we've got the end of our first clip and the start of our second, hopefully. I may have missed.
And maybe up into Bristol as well. Events out, this is our 4th event, and they're all of them.
We were close. So this time, I'm not going to split it because we're really close to being in the right place. He starts saying this is our 4th event about here, and we don't want this bit. But instead of hitting split this time, what I'm going to do is if I highlight this track here, we get this really thick yellow bit here, which we can actually press and hold and drag it in to cut at the start of the clip. So if I press and hold, nope, missed. These are these chubby fingers, you see. And try it again.
Maybe up into Bristol as well. So this is our 4th event, and they're all of them.
We're close.
As well. This is our 4th event, and they're all of them.
There we go. Right, what we do have now, though, is an edit point that we need to cover, because Dave is just going to sort of just move magically during the shot. So we need to find a piece of B-roll. So I'm going to go back on the plus at the top left. And I've got all my video clips here that I've got today, so we need to select one. I think we'll just, for the sake of it, we'll go for one that's been in here. So I'm going to select this clip here. Sorry to whoever you are, you're going to be on the big screen. Now, instead of pressing add, what add will do is it will put it in between Dave's 2 clips, and that's not where we want it. We want it to cover it. So instead of clicking add, I'm going to hit the 3 dots on the right hand side of that option, and I'm going to go with cutaway, which is a word I don't like. It's sort of the American word for B-roll, but we're going to hit cutaway, and then what it's going to do is it's going to put that clip on top. So we've now got this clip here. Now if I click on it, I've got the same options that I have on a normal clip. I've got split, detach, duplicate, delete. I've got the chunky yellow edges on the side that I can use to drag in and out the edges of the clip. And also, if I press and hold it, I can now move it to cover that join. So I can just press and hold, drag and drop. So it's really intuitive. Pretty much if you sort of think to yourself, that must be how it works. It normally is. So now if we play this through, we will continue to hear Dave underneath, but we'll see something else on our B-roll.
To grow it now into Somerset and Dorset, and maybe up into Bristol as well. This is our 4th event, and all of them have sold out.
It's good. It's probably a little bit long and doesn't really make much sense. We might need a couple of extra clips on there as well. So I'm just going to drag in the right-hand side of this piece of B-roll. Where am I? Now let's split it. So I'm going to select that piece of B-roll just as we have anything else. We know it's selected because it's yellow, and I'm going to hit split, and then I'm going to take the second part of it and I'm going to hit delete. So now we're going to go for another piece of B-roll. We're going to create what we call a sequence. So this is a selection of shots in one place, and we're making it look like it's all happening at the same time. But it wasn't me just running around the theatre randomly getting shots. It's actually a sequence that's happening all at the same time, and that's helped by the fact we're not going to have the sound as well. So I'm going to hit plus again, and we're going to get a nice sort of wide shot from the back. So this one here, I'm going to hit the 3 dots again and hit cutaway. So it's filtered on to the back afterwards. So this gives some context now. This is more of an establishing shot. So we can see where we are, what's going on. So I'm going to trim that one down by selecting it, hitting split, and deleting that one. So now we've got our edit, and it comes in from here.
It's great to be involved. It's great to be part of a community. Building Brands is a community of marketing professionals and some students, mostly based around Devon and Cornwall, but we're looking to grow it now into Somerset and Dorset, and maybe up into Bristol as well. This is our 4th event, and all of them have sold out. We have a huge waiting list of people wanting to come. So for me, it's just a really rewarding kind of thing to be involved.
Anyway, it's flickering a bit there. It's struggling to process it, but we're getting there now. So what I might also do is just put a little clip at the start. I don't really like people, it's a personal thing, but I don't particularly like people starting talking as they're on screen. It's nice to just cover up the start of someone's interview. So we're going to just grab another bit of B-roll from earlier on. Maybe this stool here. Add in as a cutaway. And we can cover the start of that one there. Again, I'm going to go split and delete that second half of the shot. So we're building up a little film now. It's going relatively well. So now we're at 44 seconds. So now we need to start thinking about how long we actually want to make this film and how much more we want to add. So what we're going to do is we're just going to add some really quick quotes from you guys around the room. And just to finish the film off, just to get some testimony from you guys saying what a fantastic event it is. So we're going to add in another clip. And this time we're going to add it normally. We're not going to add it as a cutaway. We're just going to add it as a normal clip because this is someone talking. So if we go for Anna, we're going to add it. Oh, crashed, maybe. There we go. So if we go add, there we go. Doesn't fancy it, does it? Disaster. This is like what everyone does when their phone starts crashing. Just close everything. Just assume it must be the problem. Let's try it one more time. Maybe it just doesn't like Anna. Maybe we'll go for someone else. Yeah, that might be the case. Go for Tom, see if it likes you. No. Oh dear, what is going on? You know when I said how good iMovie was? Maybe take it with a pinch of salt. Maybe a shorter clip. There we go. Okay, well it's B-roll, but there we go. We'll have a break. So one other thing I wanted to point out was this little symbol here. So when you have two clips that are next to each other on our main editing line, which generally is people talking, but if we wanted a break from talking, we didn't want anyone talking for a while, we could put a piece of B-roll on the main line here. Now this symbol here is your transition. And this is personal preference and potentially the style of the business or charity or whoever you work for. I don't like transitions in video. It reminds me of the Star Wars prequels, and it just really does my head in. So when I click on one, I always go to none. But if you want to do themed transitions or slides or wipes or whatever, all the options are there. So all you need to do is click on that box, and then for me, we're going to select none. But there's all sorts of things that can happen if you want them to, all sorts of funky stuff. So you can see there, as it plays, it just skips right over the box. We've added in. No sound now either. We'll battle on. So our other options. Now this one here is we can change the speed of our clip. So we can change things to slow motion if we want to. So if you click on that one, then you get classic Apple. It's really dumbing it down. We go from a rabbit to a tortoise. So this is where, if you go into your phone settings, you can change your frame rate. So we all know that video is made up of a selection of photos taken every second. Your phone will probably be set to take 30 per second. Now the problem with that is, it's great that it doesn't take up too much space on your phone. Obviously if you up your frame rate, it's taking up more data. But if we try and slow the clip down, there aren't enough photos there to fill the space. So we start getting really glitchy movement. It looks a bit like stop motion. So if you want to try, I don't mind you doing it right now, you can go into your settings and try and change your frame rate to 60. And what that will mean is that you can actually go into your clip and change it to 50% speed, and it will look really smooth and nice slow motion. And slow motion doesn't just have to be for an F1 car going by or something really active. Sometimes B-roll can look really nice, just people talking, people laughing. It can look really nice, just slightly slowed down. So sometimes there's no point doing it for interviews, because no one's going to slow down an interview and get people to, so you're not going to do it for that. So it's not worth taking up the data. But for B-roll, it might be worth slowing it down, especially when you're not going to use the sound. You could try and slow it down. And to do that, you need to be recording in that higher frame rate. But it does take up more space on your phone. So it might be that if you're doing a lot of filming, if your organisation wants to get more video out, you might need a sort of dedicated storage space, if that just be a hard drive or a server, or maybe just putting it all on a laptop. You might need somewhere to offload it, especially if you're recording at higher frame rates. So hopefully my phone has cooled down and we might actually be able to do some editing now. We've also got on our options at the bottom, so we've done the first one, the scissors. That's our split, detach, duplicate, delete. That's just chopping things up, deleting it, moving stuff around. The second one's our speed. This one's our volume. So we can change the volume of a clip. And it's really simple. It's just a slider. So if we slide it all the way down to the bottom, the clip is muted. If we slide it all the way to the top, it's far too loud. On the fourth menu option down here, we've got the text option. And you might find this isn't particularly useful, because you probably have lots of branding guidelines, probably pages and pages of branding guidelines that include all the fonts you are and aren't allowed to use. And they are probably not on iMovie, but you never know. It might be worth a go. There's all sorts of fancy title pages and things you can do for your videos. I would say in general, it's quite fiddly doing this on a phone, deciding where it comes in, and you're probably better putting any text in sort of the context of the film, maybe in the lead-in, and how you curate it. And then the last one, which is everyone's favourite, is filters. So you get all the filters that you normally get on your phone. But this, because you're not putting a filter on a photo, you're putting on a video, it might make your phone quite hot, because it's having to put a filter on every single frame of a video. So it does take quite a long time, and you have to sit there for quite a while until it's actually done. But you can apply lots of filters to things. Hopefully we can now add in some more clips. So back into the movie. So I think we'll give Anna one more chance.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's okay. It's okay. But we might be at a bit of a sticky point. I'm not quite sure what to do now. What we can do is we can add some music in, hopefully. So if we go into add at the end, so we've got all these options. There's various different options. So the video option is not being my friend at the moment, but we've got lots of options down here that you can add to your video. So we've got photos, which is pretty self-explanatory. Backgrounds, where you can add in if you want to do green screen and things, or you might just want a coloured square to put a logo on top of, or something like that. That's all in there. We're going to go to audio for now, and this is where you can add music to your track. You might have music downloaded. If you've got a music provider, we use a company called Audio with two I's in it. So that's about £300 a year, I think. But we can license music for any film to go on social media and things like that, because that can be a sticking point as well to getting your content up. If you put on a top 40 track, you are definitely going to get pulled up by whatever platform you're sharing on. If you go to soundtracks, though, iMovie gives you quite a long list of tracks that they give you for free. I would say 80% of them are terrible, but some of them are okay. So if you go on this on your own phone, it will only have these two, Evergreen and Flashbulb, downloaded, because it's trying to save space on your phone. But if you press a little cloud symbol that will come up at the top, it will download them all. And some of them are pretty good. And the cool thing about using them, if we add that to our track, is it will fade the music up and down automatically, depending on if it senses someone's talking. So you don't have to mess around with audio levels and put in lots of keyframes and make it louder and quieter. It does it all for you. And it means that you can get decent music on your video without worrying at all about licensing or getting things pulled down at all. It should be absolutely fine. So that's music, and then towards the bottom of the list, we've also got voiceover as well. So this will give you a few takes at doing a voiceover, so it counts you down and then you talk into your phone as your video plays. So the best thing to do, edit your video first and then record your voiceover underneath, in case you haven't managed to convince someone to be in your film, you haven't managed to talk anyone into it, then you can do a voiceover yourself over the shots that you can do. It can be a really quick way to do it as well, because you can script it, so you know exactly how long it's going to take and how much footage you need to cover those shots. So our film at the moment looks like this. Hopefully the sound comes through. Might need the tech man. But then we're in trouble.
We like to create atmosphere in our films, and this is called awkwardness.
Yeah.
It's reassuring. I have a question.
Yes.
Should you film in portrait or landscape?
Oh,
Gen Z portrait. Gen Z landscape.
I've lost track of what all these things. I don't even know what Gen Z means, but it's a good question. So generally, what I do is I always film in landscape, because if your film is ever going to go into portrait, it's quite easy to take a section of landscape and make it portrait. And the key thing for me is to film it so that you know if you're taking that middle portion, it's still going to look like a good video. If you film in portrait and you want to make it landscape ever in the future, it is a nightmare. It's really difficult because nothing fits. You get interviews where you've just got people's eyes like this and it looks terrible. If you're filming for something that you know is only ever going to be portrait, it's only ever going on reels or stories or something like that, then it's absolutely fine to film in portrait. But if there's ever a chance that you're going to use it in landscape, much better to film in landscape.
So with this, which you film in landscape,
Yep.
you go in and manually snip each side so it's like portrait size.
Yes, so you can change it to portrait and then scale things up. So it's really useful actually. So I can't change the project settings on this one now, but if I select this shot, I've got a magnifying symbol at the top right of this. So if we were in portrait right now, it would only be filling up a little bit of the screen, and then if I pinch to zoom, I can just zoom in on the shot. So it can be really quick and really easy to do. Going the other way, you'll find you'll have to zoom in loads into a portrait video to make it fill a landscape screen. So it doesn't quite work the same way. But my advice would be to film landscape unless you know it's definitely never going to be used on a landscape format. No tech man around. No tech man around. Okay.
No tech man.
No tech man.
No tech man.
No tech man. Okay. Well, other than sort of guessing and things how it goes again, we might just have to send around our film afterwards. But does anyone else have any other questions about filming at work? Any other questions? Yep.
Could you edit Anna in the section before you try and drop her into that video? She's smaller before you, or is that not just?
Yes, so you can do. It might, yeah, potentially. So if we go into video recently added. So when we do add film, you can cut it down here, what you're seeing, so we can drag in the sides to add in less of someone. Potentially. No. It's a really nice idea. Yes?
Google phones, without hating on Google phones, do they have an equivalent to iMovie without paying for the apps?
So a lot of the other apps you can get for free. So InVideo works for free. CapCut, I think there's a free version of. And then it might just get to a point where there's a certain thing you want to do that's behind a paywall. I don't go on all of them all the time, so I'm not sure what's behind a paywall when, but most of them you can download a base version for free and then get going on it straight away. I know that InVideo in particular looks almost identical to iMovie, so it's really simple to use. Yeah.
You're demonstrating troubleshooting, but what is causing the problem here, do you think?
That's a really good question. I'm not sure. It's a new phone, and I'm not sure. It doesn't feel hot, so I'm not sure what's wrong with it. Yeah, it just keeps crashing. So I'm not 100% sure. I think it's struggling with. So editing is quite an intense process for your phone. I think it's struggling at editing while sharing the screen at the same time, potentially. Which is not something problem I have in my old phone, but there we go. They promised me this one would be better. Any other questions? Yes?
Premiere Rush.
Premiere Rush, I haven't used that much. I have used it a little bit, and I think it's fine. We use Final Cut Pro because we're all former BBC, so BBC always used Final Cut Pro, so that's the one we use. I've used Premiere Rush a few times. Editing at University, which they use it there, and it's okay. It does the job for simple films. I don't think it's got all the functionality you might want once you go past a certain point for color grading and things like that.
Similar to the other in-phone editing apps you mentioned.
It's probably on a similar key. Weirdly, I've only used it on desktop. So I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, it's probably on a similar key. It's similar to iMovie, I would say, in terms because you can get iMovie on your desktop as well. And I would say the comparison on desktop of iMovie and Premiere Rush are pretty much the same. Yeah.
What's Final Cut Pro got for iMovie?
So Final Cut Pro has all sorts of tools that you're unlikely to use unless you're really getting into video editing. But that's not to say you wouldn't. So it's got lots of color grading options for making fine-tuning stuff to the color, to your white balance, to your exposure settings, how bright everything is as well. And it's a professional editing software. So at that point, it's all sorts of little changes that you don't necessarily need in a streamlined workflow that you might want if. It's the sort of thing that us editors spend hours and hours and hours changing and no one notices. It's that sort of stuff where Tom's asking me why I've taken 10 days to edit something that should have taken 10 minutes. And I'm saying, well, the noise levels in this are so different. I'll show two versions and no one can tell any difference whatsoever. But it's important to me, so it's worth the time. Yeah, Final Cut Pro, you can get, if you've got a half-decent Mac, you can get Final Cut Pro for 90 days on a free trial. If you've used iMovie on a desktop, it looks exactly the same, it's just got extra tools. Yeah, 90-day free trial. If you buy it, the advantage it's got over Adobe is you can buy it outright. So it costs £250, which is loads of money, but you've got it forever. So you don't have to pay the horrible £50 a month, whatever Adobe charges you for their monthly subscription. Not hating on Adobe too much. But, yeah.
Just before this question, guys, I'm going to jump in because there's a lot of people who obviously jumped out for lunch. Lunch, you've got another 40 minutes. Lunch is going to go on to at least 2:20. So if anyone does want to go and get some food, the food has been served. I appreciate that. Chris is going to be here for questions. Can I have a big round of applause for Chris now while we're here?